Welcome back to the Brew Crew podcast, everyone. This is episode 378 solo. It's a solo episode today. Don't have Matt. Matt's out. He's, I don't know. What is Matt doing? I think he told me he is out giving all of his earthly belongings to other people because that's the type of generous person that Matt is. Thanks, Matt. That's great. I'll cover for you while you're donating all of your earnings and your stuff. So we got a solo. So today we're going to talk about a beer that I've been waiting to do, but I only had one of them and I dropped it a couple times. So we're going to see how that goes. Truthadelic. This is a Imperial Hazy from Rheingeist. It's a 9.5. They sell this at Crispy Crunchy Shell. In solo cans. They're actually starting to sell a lot more craft beer in the solo can, so I'm excited about that. So let's break this open. I'm going to tap the top. I think that works. I think that dissipates some things. Let's see how bad this is going to be. I dropped this multiple times on accident. Of course on accident. I would never drop it on purpose. So this is 9.5% Imperial Hazy. I love hazies. Imperials, that's interesting. So I thought maybe we could do some learning again. I did this a couple times, but also Phil helps us learn a lot. But I was really curious as to how the barrel age process works and why it works and what works about it. And it's interesting. Barrel aging. So when you oxidize a beer, it typically ruins it. It makes it flat. Takes some of the flavor out. But you can do in barrel aging, it's called micro oxidization. And that happens because air is let in through the wood and very, very slowly micro oxidizes, actually enhances it. So that's cool. That's kind of how barrel aging works. There's things that happen in the wood that give the beer some woodiness flavor, but there's also what happens with the liquor, with the what do they call them? The spirits. Not the ghosts or anything, but the spirits like tequila, rum, whiskey. Let's pour this in a glass and see what happens. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice. It's a lot of foam, but I did pour it like an idiot. It smells good. It actually smells really good. This beer has a very citrusy smell to it. I don't think that was on the palate though. Yeah, on the palate, it's really smooth. It's got much smoother flavor than I was expecting. I guess I was kind of just expecting like a more what was I expecting out of this? I was expecting like a more citrusy IPA, hazy IPA. But what we're getting here is actually kind of a more dry. It's almost, the Imperial is drying it out. And hazies are typically juicier, wetter. And this has a nice wetness to it. But it's not like a hazy. It's not like a normal hazy flavor because of the Imperial style. That's pretty good. I think it's better out of the can. Yeah, out of the glass, you're almost getting some of that booze. I don't really like it as much. I like it out of the can. Out of the can, it's more flavorful. So Rheingeist, as we know, Cincy made, of course. And I'm sitting in front of a different area. I'm actually renovating the carriage house. Like, not even just the carriage house bar. I'm actually doing a bunch of work on the whole carriage house. trying to make it look a little nicer, give it a more consistent feel throughout. I had a lot of mix and match furniture up here. I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm gonna make it look like someone who actually cares is doing stuff. So I'm sitting by the door because I have a whole bunch of shit going on over there. And it's going to look good. I think it's going to look pretty cool, pretty good in here. So I didn't really teach much about that barrel aging process because there's really not much to know. You just put the beer in the barrel and then you wait. But the reason why it gets what it gets is because of that micro oxidation. There was some other things I was trying to figure out, like to try to talk about like as if it was a lesson. There's some really interesting stuff out there in the brewing community, but I don't really understand all of it yet. Some of the really complicated processes, some of the really, niche measurements, things like that. I got to learn more about it. But, largely, I did look up some of the yeast stuff, which we talk about. I wanted to maybe find something interesting about yeast. There's not much interesting about yeast. Yeast isn't that... It is interesting, but there's not much interesting stuff I could find. What I did want to know is like what gives a stout its viscosity. And some of the obvious stuff, like lactose is right there at the top of the list. But there's other things. There's other things that were surprising me. But most of it, what gives stouts its viscosity are the things you'd expect, like oat. Adding oats and oat, pulverized oats and oat sugars, oat milk, whatever it is, and then you have lactose, which is milk sugar, and then there's some other stuff that you can do. But they also kind of, in some cases, time makes it thicker, which is crazy. So I thought I'd have more interesting stuff to talk about. One thing I did learn about barrel aging is that there are certain bacterias in a sour that actually stay in the barrel after the beer has been removed. And you can put a new beer in there and reuse those barrels. And those bacteria will actually influence the next beer that's aged in those barrels. So you could kind of start to see how some of this stuff, you can go like layers deep when you have like a bourbon barrel aged beer. And then you can have beer that's been aged in a bourbon barrel that was already used for other things, It gets kind of nuts, but when you start talking about sours, and there's a little bit of research that I was able to kind of just glance at, that the bacteria in the sours actually can influence multiple beers later. It kind of digs itself in to the wood grains and stays in there, which reminds me of I can't remember what it's called exactly. It's called like a wool wasp or something like that. And it bores holes. But then there's a separate wasp called the crypt keeper wasp. This is not beer related, but it's interesting. Like the first one, the wool or the hull or whatever wasp will burrow into wood. It'll create its own hole, and then it will lay its eggs and larvae or whatever in there, and then that will come out. Then a second generation will come and reuse that hole. But then during that second generation, another wasp, the crypt keeper wasp, will come and lay its egg in the larva of that wasp, the first wasp. And what happens then is that larva, or once it becomes a wasp, it still has that parasitic wasp in its back. This is hard to follow, I'm sure. But I saw a really cool video on it earlier. It will actually start to plug the hole that was created in the wood with its own body, and then the crypt keeper wasp will come out of its face or something. It's crazy. Parasitic animals are weird, and bugs, they're freaking nuts. That whole world is like so crazy. Parasites are nuts. Yeah, they got like all those like parasites that make animals kill themselves and stuff. This is nuts. It's crazy. Makes you wonder what's going on with people. What's the parasites in us? Anyway, for us, it's truthadelic. That's the parasite. This is a good beer. I was not expecting it to be so smooth. Right up there with Rob Thomas and Santana. Smooth. Or with Michael Jackson, Smooth Criminal. It is unexpectedly easy to drink. I think it does lack some of those juicy qualities that things like Juicy Truth have, but it's the Imperial. It's amped up on alcohol. It's much more. It has more character in the hops. I think than Juicy Truth. It has more character in the alcohol. It is boozy, especially out of the glass. But first and foremost, it is smooth. Surprisingly so. A 9.5%. You get a little bit of that booze on the breath. I heard something recently that I don't remember where I was, but I think maybe I was watching YouTube and someone was like saying that alcohol is not something you can taste in beer. I was like, what? And they said it so matter-of-factly. That was weird. There's some shit you hear sometimes where you're like, that's not true. Yeah, that's just not true. That's just not true. Yeah, maybe they can make an argument that it's a different flavor that we're tasting, but it's booze. It's booziness. Let me give one more sip. I really like the pizza reviews that Dave Portnoy does, but I'm starting to think that maybe he likes shitty pizza. Pizza never looks good. It never looks good. So I'm going to have to try it myself. If you've tried a pizza that he's given a 9 to, put it in the comments. How was that pizza actually? Because I'm curious. It always looks like sauceless, dry garbage. I don't get it. That's New Haven style thing that he always loves. This beer is delicious. Easy to drink. 9.5. It'll get you fucked up. I'm going to give this beer a 4.0. I think that's about as high as it can get. It would need some other characteristics. It is good. It's well executed, but it isn't. I mean, it's not like my favorite beer I've ever had. Truthadelic. Love the name. Love the can art. There it is. Psychedelic. Truthadelic. That's it. I think that's probably good for episode 378. I was hoping to teach everyone a little bit. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I was confusing. Maybe I was rambling. I don't know. These days are so long recently. They're just going on and on. We got all this stuff going on. But it's okay. It's okay. That's it. That's episode 378. Thanks for watching. Let me know about those pizzas. And if you come across a beer you want us to review, we don't say this probably ever. Let us know. We'll go get that beer and we'll review it. We'll let you know what we think. That's it. 378. Bye.